I moved to Japan with a suitcase and a head full of fantasies inspired by a lifetime of watching anime. I pictured myself wandering through ancient Kyoto temples, getting lost in the neon glow of Tokyo, and just effortlessly ordering ramen from a street-side stall. But my first week here wasn't about cherry blossoms or the famous Shibuya crossing. It was about me standing in a tiny bare apartment, staring at an invoice for key money, gift money, and cleaning fees that added up to more than 3 months of my salary. My first thought? What have I gotten myself into? This isn't going to be another glossy travel video. This is the real guide to my life as a foreigner in Japan. The one I wish I'd had before I packed that suitcase. We're going to cover everything, from the shocking cost of renting a simple apartment to navigating the beautiful but incredibly complex local traditions. I'm sharing it all. The good, the bad, and the truly unexpected. If you've ever dreamed of living here or you're just curious about what life is really like beyond the tourist trail, you need to see this. Let's be honest, a lot of us who dream of Japan have a pretty specific picture in our heads. It's a collage of images from pop culture, from movies, from perfectly curated Instagram feeds. We imagine a world of insane convenience, stunning natural beauty, and a culture that's thousands of years deep. And here's the secret. All of that is true. Japan is all of those things. But that's only half the story. The other half doesn't make it into the travel brochures. It's the story of trying to navigate a bureaucracy that feels like it was designed in a different century. It's that feeling of intense isolation, even when you're in the middle of the biggest city in the world. And it's the slow realization that understanding Japan isn't a destination you just arrive at. It's a journey that never really ends. My dream was to immerse myself in the culture. The reality began with paperwork, stacks of it, at the city office, the bank, the real estate agent. My fantasy of having philosophical chats with wise old monks was quickly replaced by the very real struggle of trying to figure out which of the 10 different trash bags I was supposed to use on a Tuesday. This video is about bridging that gap between the dream and the reality. It's about showing you what it really costs, financially, mentally, and emotionally, to build a life here. And we're going to start with the first and biggest shock for almost every foreigner: money. The first words of Japanese many expats truly learn aren't konnichiwa or arigato. They're shikikin and reikin and chukai to suryo. These are the words that will haunt your bank account before you've even bought your first real bowl of ramen. When I started my apartment search, I thought I'd done my research. I knew that rent for a small one-bedroom in a major city like Tokyo could be anywhere from the 100,000s to 200,000 yen a month. In smaller cities, it might be a more manageable 40,000 to 80,000. What I didn't get was the mountain of initial fees standing between me and the keys. In most Western countries, you pay a security deposit and your first month's rent. In Japan, you prepare for financial doomsday. Let's break down that invoice I was staring at. First, the security deposit, or shikikin. That's usually 1 to 2 months' rent, and you might get some of it back. Then came the key money, or reikin, which is literally a non-refundable gift of 1 to 2 months' rent you pay the landlord just for the privilege of renting their place. Yes, a gift. A very, very expensive gift you are required to give. But wait, there's more. Next up was the agency fee for the real estate broker, another month's rent plus tax. Then a guarantor fee, because as a foreigner without a Japanese family member to co-sign, you have to pay a company to take on that risk for you. Add in lock-changing fees, insurance fees, and the first month's rent on top of it all, and you're looking at an upfront cost that can easily be 5 to 6 times your monthly rent. For a Y100,000 apartment, that's potentially Y1,600,000. That's thousands of dollars before you've even bought a single chopstick. It is, without a doubt, the biggest financial gut punch for newcomers. And that's if you can even find a place. It's a hard truth, but housing discrimination is a real hurdle. Many landlords just won't rent to foreigners, citing language barriers or cultural differences. My first few attempts were met with polite but firm rejections the second the agent mentioned I wasn't Japanese. The solution is finding a foreigner-friendly agent, but this can limit your options. Once you've survived the apartment hunt, you settle into daily costs. For a single person, monthly expenses, excluding rent, can range from about $100,000 to $200,000 depending on your lifestyle and city. Your utilities will run you about Y or 15,000 talents to Y or $25,000 a month for the basics. Groceries for one person can be around Y soles 30,000 talents to Y $150,000 a month. Especially if you like things like cheese, which can be shockingly expensive here. The dream of living in Japan is free. The reality comes with a very detailed and often eye-watering price tag. After the financial shell shock wears off, you start peeling back the next layer of the onion: the culture. Japanese culture is this deep, beautiful, and intricate web of social rules and unspoken expectations. It's why many of us are drawn here. But living in it is totally different from just admiring it. It requires you to unlearn a lifetime of your own habits. My first big lesson happened at work. I was in a meeting and my boss presented an idea I thought had a few holes. So, like any good Western employee, I directly and politely pointed them out. The room went silent. Not a thoughtful silence, but a deeply uncomfortable one. My boss just smiled, nodded, and said, "I see, thank you for your opinion," before moving on like I hadn't said a word. I had just slammed face first into the concept of tatamae and hone. Tatamae is the public face you show to keep social harmony. Hone is what you actually think and feel, which is usually kept private. In that meeting, I had shattered this unwritten rule. I'd forced a direct confrontation in a culture that prizes group consensus and indirect communication above all else. What I should have done was agree in the meeting and then maybe, discreetly, bring up my concerns with a colleague or my boss later, phrased in a much softer way. Learning to read the air, or kuki wo yomu, is a critical survival skill. This indirectness is everywhere. People rarely give you a hard no. Instead, you'll get a vague, "Oh, that might be a little difficult," usually with a sharp intake of breath. It's a social dance, and for a long time you'll feel like you have two left feet. The explicit rules are easier to learn, but there are a lot of them. You bow when you say hello, thank you, or sorry, and the depth of the bow matters. You take your shoes off, everywhere. Not just in homes, but in some restaurants, clinics, and traditional offices. This leads to a national obsession with clean, hole-free socks, because you never know when they'll be on display. Public spaces have their own strict code. Trains are silent. No one takes phone calls. Conversations are quiet murmurs, if they happen at all. Eating while walking down the street is a big no-no. You'll see people buy a snack from a convenience store and stand right there to finish it before moving on. And there are almost no public trash cans because you're expected to take your trash home with you. Then there's gift giving, or omiyage. If you go on a trip, even just for a weekend, you're socially obligated to bring back small, individually wrapped snacks for your entire office and close friends. It's a sweet gesture, but it's also an obligation you forget at your own risk. It's a constant process of watching and learning. You learn to appreciate the deep-seated respect behind all these rules. But in the beginning, it can feel like you're walking through a minefield of social blunders. For all the challenges, there are parts of living in Japan that are so profoundly good, they completely change how you see daily life. These are the things that don't just meet your expectations, they blow them out of the water. First and most importantly is the incredible, soul-soothing safety. Japan is one of the safest countries in the world. And that's not just a statistic, it's a feeling. It's walking home alone at 2 a.m. in Tokyo without a shred of fear. It's seeing little kids taking the subway by themselves. It's leaving your laptop on a cafe table to save your spot while you order, knowing it will be there when you get back. It's a level of social trust that, for many of us, feels like a fantasy. The first time you lose your wallet and someone turns it in, with everything still inside, is a truly magical moment. Speaking of magic, let's talk about the konbini, the convenience store. But calling it that doesn't do it justice. The Japanese konbini is the nexus of civilization. It's a 24/7 wonderland where you can buy delicious, high-quality meals, pay your bills, send packages, buy concert tickets, print documents, and use a spotless, free restroom. They are everywhere, and they make life unbelievably easy. This culture of convenience extends to the food scene. Japan is famous for its Michelin-starred restaurants, but the real beauty is how affordable incredible food is. You can get a life-changing bowl of ramen or a delicious set meal for under $1,200. Conveyor belt sushi plates start at just a couple hundred yen, letting you feast like a king on a pauper's budget. Every neighborhood has its hidden gems, tiny family-run shops that have perfected one dish over generations. Finding them becomes a delicious and affordable adventure. And finally, the public transportation. The train system is a marvel of punctuality. Trains are precise down to the second. Yes, rush hour is a true test of your personal space boundaries. But the rest of the day, it's a clean, efficient, and surprisingly cheap way to get around. A monthly commuter pass in a city like Tokyo can cost between Y8,000 and Y115,000. The system is so good that owning a car in the city is often more of a burden than a benefit. These things, the safety, the convenience, the food, the transport, they create a daily life that is smooth, efficient, and deeply reassuring. Now, let's talk about the other side of the coin. These aren't just challenges. These are the things that can be genuinely frustrating, the things that make you question your decision to move here, even on a good day. The biggest, most persistent challenge is the language barrier. You might think, I'll be in Tokyo, people speak English. And in tourist spots, sure. But the moment you step off that path, you are in a Japanese-speaking world. Your rental agreement, your bank documents, your utility bills, all in Japanese. Many people learn English in school, but a combination of shyness and lack of practice means they're hesitant to use it. Translation apps only get you so far. They can't help you understand the nuance in a conversation with your landlord or navigate a medical issue. Truly learning the language, especially the thousands of kanji characters, is a monumental task. This leads to the second major challenge: social integration. Making deep friendships with Japanese people can be tough. Japanese society often works on an uchi-soto, or inside-outside basis. Social circles, often formed in school or at work, are tight-knit. As a foreigner, a gaijin, you will almost always be on the outside. People are incredibly polite and friendly on the surface, but breaking through that politeness to form a true ride-or-die friendship can take years. Many expats find their closest friends end up being other expats. Then, there's the work culture. The stereotypical Japanese work environment is very real. It means long hours, a strict hierarchy, and immense pressure to show loyalty. Working overtime, often unpaid, is common, and taking all your vacation days can be frowned upon. The emphasis on the group over the individual means decision-making is slow, and taking initiative isn't always rewarded. The fact that they have a word for death from overwork, karoshi, tells you everything you need to know. Finally, there are the little things that grind you down. The fact that it's still a surprisingly cash-based society, where your credit card is useless in many small shops. The incredibly strict and complex garbage sorting rules, which change from one neighborhood to the next. These aren't deal breakers, but they're daily reminders that you're playing a completely different game. You've heard about my biggest shocks and frustrations, but everyone's experience is different. If you live in Japan or have lived here, what was the biggest challenge that nobody ever talks about? The one thing that truly surprised you? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one and I really want to hear your stories. There comes a point, maybe a year in, maybe 5, where you stop fighting the current. You stop getting frustrated by things you can't change. You start anticipating the need for cash. You memorize the right bow. You learn to read between the lines. That's the turning point. It's when you realize Japan isn't just a place you're living. It's actively changing who you are. Living here forces you to develop a level of patience you never knew you had. You learn it waiting at the city office, filling out the same form for the 3rd time because you used the wrong color ink. It's an active, resilient patience that comes from accepting that some things just can't be rushed. You also become incredibly observant. In a culture where so much is said without words, you learn to pay attention. You notice the slight hesitation, the shift in body language, the meaning behind a moment of silence. You start seeing the world in higher definition. It makes you a better listener and a more empathetic person. Most of all, you become more resilient. Every challenge you beat, from setting up a bank account on your own to figuring out a train delay announced only in Japanese, is a small victory. These victories build on each other and create a deep sense of self-sufficiency. You learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. The person who stood in that empty apartment, totally overwhelmed, is not the person I am today. That person was impatient and had a very narrow view of how the world should work. Living in Japan broke down those assumptions. It forced me to rebuild my understanding of communication, community, and respect. It was and still is a deeply humbling experience. You don't just learn about Japan, you learn a shocking amount about yourself. So what's the final word on expat life in Japan? It's a paradox. It is, at the same time, the most convenient and the most frustrating place you will ever live. It's a society built on deep respect and tradition, which can feel both beautiful and suffocating. It offers moments of pure beauty and moments of maddening bureaucracy. It's safe, clean, and futuristic, yet it holds on to social norms that can feel ancient. Living in Japan is not an extended vacation. The Japan you see as a tourist is not the Japan you live in. The real Japan will test you. It will challenge your assumptions, push your limits, and, at times, make you want to scream into a pillow. But it will also reward you in ways few other experiences can. It will give you a new lens to see the world through. It will teach you resilience, patience, and the art of seeing what isn't said. It will give you access to a culture of incredible depth and a quality of life that is, in many ways, second to none. If I can leave you with one piece of advice, it's this. Come here with your eyes open. Don't come chasing a fantasy. Come with respect, humility, and the willingness to be a student again. Be ready to be humble. Be ready for the challenges. Because if you are, you will find that living in Japan is one of the hardest and one of the most rewarding things you will ever do. The person you are when you arrive will not be the person you are when you leave, and that transformation is the real prize. I've shared my story, and now I want to hear yours. What are you most excited or nervous about when you think about living in Japan? Ask me anything in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer. And if you found this guide helpful and want more honest insights into life here, please consider subscribing. It helps more than you know. Thanks for watching.